start 5 minutes reading time, and your time starts now.
Just having some trouble scrolling.
Try that now.
Oh, yep, there we go.
Okay, your reading time is up. Your case time begins. My first question for you is what is your provisional diagnosis and what are your differentials?
Original diagnosis, tricky one. So I would say worsening of the tension type, exacerbation of the tension type headaches she's getting. Other than that, I've got migraine type headaches, space occupying lesion, cervicogenic headaches. Something to consider would be giant cell arthritis or idiopathic intracranial hypertension. Um, Perhaps it's ischemic stroke as well. I've got cataracts and myopia or nearsightedness. Those are the top things that I have. Um,
What additional questions would you ask to try and narrow down your diagnosis?
yep. Any weight loss or night sweats? Any changes with hearing or any numbness or tingling in the upper or lower limbs? Any changes in strength, power, coordination at all? Any family? I think they've given family history. Yeah, any family history of brain tumors. Any recent infections at all, um, any um, any ear pain, um, any previous history of high blood pressure. Um, has a patient ever used any spectacles or glasses before? Um, and just, I guess a bit more with regards to the headaches themselves, just doing going through a Socrates, where exactly the headache is. Is it worse in the morning or night? Is it there throughout the whole day? What would you describe the headaches as? Does the pain of the headache go anywhere else? Other than the amitriptyline, has she tried any other medications to help it? Any worsening symptoms? Um, Oh, I'm sorry, any things that make the headache worse.
And what would be your next steps with Amelia admitting to using unregulated supplements?
Um, but I'd probably have to explain to her that um, that there probably isn't a lot of evidence with regards to this ginkgo biloba supplement that she has been using with regards to natural boosters, or at least not that I have heard of. It's something that probably needs to be studied in more detail with doing some studies and see what the evidence is behind what she's using it for example, natural brain booster. Um, and sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. Um, uh, what would be your next steps with Amelia admitting to using unregulated supplements?
Yep. Yeah. So essentially, just finding out where she found the medication. If she's heard about it from a friend, or was it just online? If she's noticed any difference from the medication itself, it has to be any side effects. And then, from my point of view, that I'd be telling her that this isn't something that I guess has been identified to improve and have helped to naturally boost their brain essentially. And I just inform her that this probably needs to be looked into further detail. Perhaps I could even advise her that I can look into this and then get her back for another consult and explain exactly what the side effects and what issues one might experience with this medication.
Okay. And what is your management plan for the headaches and vision changes?
Headaches and vision changes. So a few things. I think what need to be done is, if I'm thinking that it's exacerbation of her um, tension type headaches, I guess one thing we could consider is maybe um, definitely getting a review with the optometrist, and then considering a review with the ophthalmologist as well. And prior to that, just thinking of some not conservative things, such as exploring a bit more into her physical activity, try and improve that, just exploring more around her sleep hygiene and improving that if there is any issues. Um, and explore further if for example if she's having any excessive alcohol, to cut that down, any recent stresses that she is having, try and explore that into a bit more detail, refer her to a psychologist perhaps. And and on the diet side of things, just caffeine and alcohol, exploring that, and if that is present, try and reduce that. um, and uh, and perhaps uh, I think those are the top things that I would do at the moment.
Yep. Would you consider any other further referrals or urgent
I would,
interventions?
yeah, maybe I would consider in this case doing an MRI scan. Just if we could find any further details on this, I guess explore a bit more from that CT scan, repeat that ESR again. Um, I guess down the line, something also to consider would be if the headaches still aren't improving, referring to the ED, getting a lumbar puncture perhaps. Um, those are the top things that I would consider.
And so again, going back to the first question again, what do you feel is the most likely diagnosis?
Um, It could be as a side effect of the medication, perhaps that she's started as. But then again, probably have to consider what the blurry vision is being caused by. Um, so a few differentials, but that probably need to be explored into a bit more detail. Um,
And is there anything you would like to add to any of your answers?
um, probably just that for now. Microbeads. No, I think it's just that.
Okay, those are the questions I have then. Did you want to hear any of the questions again, or was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that's it. I'm just like yes, I'm missing something very obvious perhaps in my differentials. No, that's it.
No worries. You
Probably
do
have a
have
bit of
5 minutes left on the timer. We can finish it up there though if you
yeah,
want to. Yep, too easy.
yeah,
Okay, we'll stop that then. Whoop, and bring you back there. In fact, how do you feel it went?
not good
Like,
at all.
you actually didn't do too bad, to be honest. You had a
Sorry, I think I'm missing something very obvious just with the blurry vision and the lack of accommodation. What is the provisional?
yeah, so this is interactions between whatever this supplement is and the amitriptyline, most likely.
Okay. Okay.
Potentially some amitriptyline toxicity, although there's not too many other symptoms in there. And really, it's about highlighting the fact that who knows what's actually in this supplement. I mean,
Ah,
it describes itself as a mix of other random herbs and is ordered online. So, a big part of this case is identifying. We don't know what's in that she's having new symptoms after starting that. And so, really, the first step is saying, look, you probably need to stop.
okay.
And then some kind of going into a bit of kind of education around reputable sources as therapeutic drugs, sorry, the TGA and how that approval process works, making sure that you're not just on a random mix of something that we don't know what it is. I think, though, everything else you absolutely smashed. You had a very sensible key diagnosis and really good differential list. I think you really fleshed out a whole bunch of different things. And in fact, if we jump through the chat, some of the ones that came up here, we had temporal arteritis, considering high dose steroids in consultation with ophthalmology, temporal artery biopsy, query farsightedness needing glasses. And here we had, temporal arteritis AACG. So I think you pretty much smashed it. And with that history there, I also like that you did say, look, we can't really exclude it, some kind of intracranial vascular incident or space occupying lesion. And I think it would have been sensible to pursue those things as well. Your communication was great. I think you showed that you knew what you were talking about based on the differentials you gave. The kind of investigations you gave were also quite sensible. I think that probably the thing I would spend a little bit of time on for this is not so much the science and facts and figures and things, but have a think about these kinds of tricky situations where it's not clear cut. How are you going to navigate that uncertainty and put in that kind of plan of what do we do when we don't really know? And I think you did that pretty well. You came up with sensible things in terms of.
Is it
Mm?
is it worth saying, hey, I probably need to look into the supplement that you're using and probably get back to you? Is that something that RACGP would accept?
Yes and no, because and this is also something that you should kind of pick up and highlight in the response is that for a lot of these kind of online websites, they can say, look, here's the ingredients, but does that mean that's what's actually in the substance you're taking? It's not regulated. It's not tested. There's no standards. You could be on something completely different. And the real life situation that prompted me to write this case in particular was they did a study looking at melatonin, online melatonin, which you may have seen this. And there were lots of cases where the dose as advertised was either massively lower or in some cases massively higher. And in some cases, actually contained CBD. So people were having great sleep, but not for the reason they were thinking of. And this is the problem with buying things online that aren't regulated, that don't go through the TGA and through those testing and approval processes. So for here, the management plan we were really kind of hunting for was the immediately stopping this new herbal supplement, advising monitoring of symptoms. You could either stop or continue the amitriptyline, given it had been helpful previously, but you would consider adjusting the dose maybe to a lower dose for a little bit, and making sure then you also have that follow-up plan in a week or two to actually see, one, how do they respond. As you said, though, referral or review by ophthalmology would be fantastic. And if things were progressing at all, then you'd be going through, as you said, to a neurologist as well. You also flagged, and this was a key part of this as well, that if there are any of those red flag symptoms, ED. They need to go to ED for urgent assessment and workup. And I think you put that in place pretty well. So I think this is a case you would have passed. You wouldn't have done fantastically in it, admittedly. But I think you got enough things in there to get you over the line. So all in all, well done, mate. Does that make sense? Have I kind of answered?
No, definitely. Yeah, no.
Cool. Um, I'll just go into the feedback I had prepared for this. So for this one, the competent candidate, the clinical knowledge and skills was to recognise the importance of thorough history taking, including supplement use, to adjust the diagnosis based on new information about the herbal supplements, and to consider the potential interactions and adverse effects. The communication was around the risks of unregulated supplements, with practical advice on symptom management and appropriate follow-up, and addressing patient concerns, the usual caveat there for every single case. And trying to use our evidence-based guidelines. And you did highlight this actually, that for a lot of these things, we don't have the scientific evidence to back up its use. And so in this case, we would just recommend cessation. Well done. Thanks for jumping on. I know it's always nerve-wracking throwing yourself onto an online thing like this, so I really appreciate it. If you're happy, then we'll wrap this one up. We might look at jumping into the second case then. Thanks very much.